Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Scholars Table, where we speak with the leaders shaping the future of global health, academia, and leadership. I'm Dr. Banda Khalifa, and today's guest is someone stepping into one of the most critical leadership roles in public health. Keshia Pollack Porter is a Bloomberg Centennial Professor and the 12th Dean of the #1 School of Public Health, the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. She's the first Black person to lead the institution in its 100-plus years history. She's a member of the National Academy of Medicine and a scholar of injury prevention, health equity, and health policy. She has spent her career focused on environments and systems that shape how people live and whether they live well. As a former department chair, vice dean for faculty, and now institutional leader, Dean Pollack brings a rare blend of academic rigor and grounded vision. She takes the helm at a turning point for public health, a moment of misinformation, workforce strain, political pushback, and urgent calls for transformation. Today, we talk about what it means to lead in this moment, not with credentials alone, but with clarity, courage, and conviction. Dean Pollack, welcome to the Scholars Table.
Thank you so much. And it's great to be here with all of you today. And as you said, I'm Dean Pollack Porter. Pleasure.
Awesome. So I've been looking forward to this conversation because I feel is an important one to have, especially with your experience and at this point in time in history of public health. But I always want to lean back and get to know our guests much better. So maybe we'll start with a little background and your work experience. So could you share some insights into your early life and academic journey and how those formative experiences shaped your path to public health and leadership?
Absolutely. Well, I'm a proud daughter of immigrant parents. My parents came to the U.S. from the Caribbean, settled in New York. They came separately, got connected, got married, had my brother and me, and moved to the suburbs. And they came to the U.S. seeking a better life than they had, and really promoted education and service and making an impact in the world. And those are important lessons that I have embraced my entire life. My grandmother on my father's side always reminded me of my purpose and that I was here for a reason. I went to college, a first-generation college kid, up at Tufts University, where I went up to be pre-med, actually. And I was good in sciences in high school, and I remember being pushed to go to medicine. But after taking some public health courses, I was really interested in public health, and I thought, I'm going to get an MD and an MPH. And to be honest, that's the path I was down until I encountered my nemesis, which is organic chemistry. And I thought, this is not going to work out too well. And but I'm grateful for mentorship. And that's a key theme of my story, that one of my mentors said, that public health courses and thinking and framework that you like, that could be your career. Like that could be where you can lean in. And I saw the promise and the possibility of just helping populations through public health strategies. And I came here actually and did my doctorate at Hopkins in health policy. And I chose to do that at Hopkins because I knew that I would receive the training to make an impact, to make a difference in the world. And for me, that was just such a critical driver for why I chose to be here. I left and did a postdoc at Penn and was at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation before I was recruited back on faculty by our prior dean, Dean McKenzie. And I started as an assistant professor in health policy management.
Awesome. So I guess you've kind of held several leadership positions within and outside of Hopkins. How would you say those experiences across, both research, teaching, and policy informed your readiness to step into your current role?
Yeah, certainly being a principal investigator on research helped me develop strong skills in how to manage teams and get teams together around a vision, manage budgets, all of those really sort of more transactional types of skills. And also, how do we get people behind us in terms of leaning into a vision for discovery? I think a couple of the most influential roles for me was when I was vice dean for faculty. I held that role during the pandemic, right? Some of the hardest years of the pandemic, and really how did we support faculty during that time, moving to a virtual way of being? How do you promote community in that space? I think that was critical for my development. And then also being chair of the Department of Health Policy and Management, which I held for about 3 years before I stepped into the dean role. It's one of the largest departments at the school, complex department. So that, coupled with being a lead investigator on complex grants and research partnerships, really strengthened my ability to step into this role and to feel prepared to step into this role. It's critical. And throughout that entire journey, I had such key mentors and collaborators, again, all really helping me develop as a leader to step into this role at this moment in time.
Yeah, and I know like you've mentioned mentorship in person, but I mean, at this level, what role do you think mentorship or the absence of it played in shaping your career and your leadership, competency at this level?
Yeah, I like to highlight when I talk to people the importance of mentorship and sponsorship. And I had both, and both were critical for my development. And so when I think about mentorship, it's people who are honest. Oh, say, Keshia, you're not doing the right thing here, or think about something a little bit different, right? Like, I think we need people to hold us accountable, right? To who are honestly, who want to honestly say to us and help us see maybe something that I have a blind spot to. And I've been grateful that I can call people to just unpack and talk through some different things. I also have a leadership coach so I think about my mentors, my sponsors, my coaches, and together all of those individuals have helped me develop into who I am. I'll say just a nod to sponsorship. Having a sponsor, having somebody who is at the table, who can lift you up and recommend you for things where you might not have the opportunity, is so critical for professional growth and development. So when I talk to students, for example, I encourage them to think about finding a mentor and a sponsor. And I think that those things together are critical. And that could be the same person, but those are different ways of interacting with you. And both have been critical for me.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing your background and how mentorship and sponsorship, has shaped your journey till now. All right, so I know that you've led during the pandemic and now, so you're stepping into this role as a first Black dean and the only second woman to lead the Bloomberg School since its founding over a century ago. What does that moment represent to you personally and to the institution more broadly? There have been instances where folks have described moments like this as a glass cliff, where they feel, minorities are pushed into spaces at a point where there seems to be a lot of crisis or uncertainty. How do you feel, like personally, how do you feel this moment, not just as a challenge, but as an opportunity? And what does it mean to you personally, the institution, for you to lead in such a pivotal time?
Yeah. Well, part of why I applied to be dean, there were 3 reasons I laid out. One is my love for the school. I grew up here in some ways professionally, right? And so I started here as a brand new assistant professor on the tenure track and made my way through. And I really do love the school. And part of my interest and my love for the school was what propelled me to think about stepping into this role when it opened up. The second thing that motivated me to apply is my love for the field, for public health. I truly believe in the power of public health And public health is so critical, and it's more important now than it ever was before. So to be at the helm of this school during this moment was also something that I looked into. Application materials weren't due until December. So a lot of things were evolving in the world, and I still applied. It wasn't that I didn't step into this role with my eyes sort of not wide open. And the third reason why I apply is my calling and my purpose. I have a deep faith, and I believe that we're here for a reason and supposed to make an impact and make a difference. And part of my desire to make a difference was really thinking about how I could do that from this role. Certainly being the first reminds me of the responsibility that brings. Certainly Ellen D. McKenzie was the first woman to be dean, and now I step in as a second, the first Black woman to be dean. And I know that will pave the way for the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth, and I embrace that honor. And I hope that my track record speaks for itself, because I know that there are people who think that perhaps that merit wasn't what got me here, and I'm just naming that because I have heard that. But I am completely confident in my ability and my track records, and know that I'm here for a reason right now at this moment.
Yeah, and I must say that, as I was researching about you for this episode, I realized, the extent of your accomplishment, the amazing things you've done. And it's always intriguing that sometimes you really have to go far and beyond just to show that you are also capable. And I must say that, your credentials, it's at par with, almost all the leaders I've researched. So I want us to step back a bit to talk about the building around Wall Street. I know Johns Hopkins has been like a big name in the world, actually. When I was applying for my master's, I did mainly because one of our professors, who at that time was teaching obstetrics and gynecology, said that if you want to do public health, the only place you should do it is Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. So at that time, we all knew that was the home of public health. But it's been over 100 years. There's been a lot of success stories. But looking in the future, what do you think your strategic vision will be like? Let's say in the next 3 to 5 years, what will be your strategic vision for the Bloomberg School of Public Health?
Yeah, I'll answer that in a couple of ways. One is coming in as a new leader. As we're having this conversation where I'm a couple days short of my 3 months, my first 90 days. And so still really early in this journey. And certainly I came in with my own vision. And part of my goal is to make sure that vision is a collective vision. And so we'll soon embark in a strategic planning process to really get people behind a vision for the Bloomberg School over the next couple of years. But for me personally, when I laid out a vision for why I wanted to be dean, it was to really think about how this school could continue to advance health and well-being for every person by leveraging its unique strengths as the number one preferred destination for training and education and leadership development. Part of why I came here to train is because I saw myself as a public health leader. I saw myself as a leader, and I knew that if I trained here, I could change the world. And I truly believe that. And we produce leaders. And so that was one thing I want to lean into and continue to ensure that we are that preferred destination for training and education. The second thing that's part of my strategic vision is ensuring that we continue to be a leader in conducting impactful research and practice, making a difference in this world, solving problems, current and ones that we may not even see yet, those emerging problems. And the third aspect of my strategic vision is really playing a leading role in trying to win back trust and appreciation for public health. And that means doing things differently. It means listening with humility. It means deepening our engagement even more than we have before, reaching out to new partners. And I believe that this school has a role to play in leading. And I believe that, my vision could certainly be a collective vision. And I look forward to working with our whole community of faculty, staff, students, alumni, and even our broader community in Baltimore to get behind this.
Awesome. I think these are well laid out visions. I'm confident that you'll be able to execute these. But I also want to add that Hopkins as an institution has a lot of I would say norms, and at this point in time you also need somebody with a vision for transformation. So what do you think will be your approach to balancing institutional continuity with the need for transformation?
Yeah, well, it's thinking boldly, right? Like we clearly, well, I'll just say when I look around, right, we see that so many people have not realized the health gains that I think there's a lot of potential to have achieved, right? We think about the systems, not everybody has benefited from systems, and there are a number of people that continue to have poor health or who face barriers to optimal health. And so I do think that part of the tension is how do we think boldly and really transform health and public health so that every single person has the ability to be healthy. I truly believe that that's possible. And we have to balance that with strategy, with looking to see what are our unique contributions. How can we help to move things forward in partnership? Because we can't do it alone, but it's in partnership with other schools of public health, with the public health workforce at the state, local, and federal level, with partners in the private sector. And I do think that this gives us an opportunity. What we're seeing now in the world gives us an opportunity, as well as I'm seeing a willingness for people to engage in new ways. And that's exciting for me right now.
Awesome, awesome. And I think I was chatting with someone a couple of weeks ago, and we're talking about, how this time we are really constrained about funding, political scrutiny. What do you think are some of the approaches that may sustain both academic rigor and institutional innovation? Like, the biggest opportunities you see here, and maybe you can add, the biggest threat to public health education as we see it.
Yeah. I mean, we will, here at the Bloomberg School, we have outstanding leaders, right? Our department chairs, our deans, our division heads, our unit heads. We have outstanding leadership at the school. And we will continue to work together and stay focused on mission and act consistently with our values. Like that is our core. And I think it's also critically important to be transparent and to let people know the challenges we're facing and to work together in community to find solutions. And so for me, I'm very transparent about my values and my strengths. And I think that it's important for me to continue to lead through my values and my strengths. And those include authenticity and equity and humility, integrity, curiosity, and grace and compassion. And I think that by leading in that way, by showing up in a way that's authentic, by being transparent, by engaging people, staying focused on mission and consistent with our values, we can sustain both that academic rigor and institutional innovation. And when I think about the threats to sort of public health, I think, or public health or education, I think about the concerns I have that people don't see a need to come into public health now as a field, right? So there's, there's many schools, many places people can go. I believe that, we're a preferred destination for people to come, but people need to believe and have hope that public health is still a critically important field to go into. And so when I think about the threats to public health education, I'm wondering, are we still seeing, or what's the impacts of what we're seeing now on people's interest in the field? And will continue to be a champion for public health because public health is so important. We haven't solved the problems of the world yet. We have to continue to stay focused on training and inspiring leaders to help address public health problems.
Yeah, thank you so much for the confidence in public health. Next section would probably talk a bit about the graduate education itself. I think earlier you mentioned that you did your PhD at Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. Well, what do you believe distinguishes Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health from other global public health institutions?
Yeah, when I think back to why I came here, as I said a little bit earlier, I came here because of my desire to make a difference in the world. And I knew that by training here, I would have opportunities to learn, to grow. I would be able to lean into my strengths and curiosity and learn those skills, leadership skills, analytical skills to make a difference. And I think that emphasis and that community and the fact that people want to stay focused on mission and advancing public health was something that I found that was so appealing when I first came to visit. My first interactions here at the Bloomberg School of Public Health was I did a summer institute I came when I was in my master's program. I did my master's at Yale, and in the summer between your first and second year, I did an internship at the CDC, and I came to Hopkins and did a week-long summer institute training. I had won a scholarship, and I tell you the receptivity to the faculty, to how I already sort of got a sense of how amazing this place was from being here for just a week, about the emphasis on making a difference and impact. Like, I felt that. And I believed that it was something that was so palpable that I was so excited that I knew I needed to come here. And so I think about that when I reflect on why I came here and why I want people to come here. This is such a great institution, great opportunities to work in community. We have community-based work like through Source. The alumni network is outstanding. And I think it's the opportunities and the supports to find employment. I think it really helps to make us exceptional for students' education. And as I said, leaders train here. I truly believe that. If you look at our alum around the world, leadership positions, they're folks who've graduated from this institution.
Yeah. And I think one element where I had, I think, the provost of education from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, and he was making an argument that they have the best alumni in the world. So maybe, we have to settle that score.
Yeah. Well, I'll say, we have the best alumni in the world. So,
Okay, that's good to know. And I know, like, sometimes I also feel for new leadership, like let's say the new dean or the new chair of a department. Consistently Hopkins has been ranked number one by the U.S. News and World Report. So coming in, like, do you feel any sense of, like, I need to keep this up. I need to make sure that we are number one for at least my time as the new dean. Do you feel that pressure?
It's a great question. I'll tell you, when I was chair of HPM, they started ranking departments. And I used to tell people that, rankings are flawed and they're biased. And I don't believe in them except when you're number one. That's the only time. And so I'll start there by just saying that. I mean, for me, certainly rankings are important, right? I mean, people look at them. But for me, it's about the work. It's the work we do. And I think if we continue to lead with the work, continue to make an impact, make a difference, we have phenomenal work going on in breadth of topics that we're covering, from gun violence prevention to planetary health to a number of different topics. I think the rankings will come. I think leading in order to stay number one is not a bold approach. Like, the bold approach is to stay focused on the work and the mission, and I believe the ranking will follow.
That's true. Okay. And I want us to talk a bit about my community, who, like, most of them are early career professionals, or let's say prospective applicants who are still looking to decide whether public health is the next best step for them. And I think one concern they usually have is the element of funding. And I know you're very passionate about making public health accessible to a lot of people, irrespective of where they're coming from. But in the midst of all the challenges with grant cuts and all that, what can you share about, the school's efforts to still try and expand access, particularly scholarships and fellowships for masters and doctoral students?
Yeah. So as you noted, I mean, this issue of access and funding is critical to me. I know that I only was able to go to undergrad and graduate school because of funding, supports, and scholarships. And I had some loans when I finished. I benefited from the loan repayment program from the NIH that they had to help take care of my loans. But I know the challenges of leaving school and having a lot of debt. So I resonate with anybody who's trying to decide, should they go to school and what does that debt look like? I'll say there's a few things. I mean, certainly for me, because of my focus, I'm working closely with our Office of External Affairs and our development team to help to think about, are there new opportunities to expand funding, to diversify our sources of funding, to provide support for our students. So whether it's scholarships or training grants, and when I was chair of HPM, for example, really supported faculty writing training grants that would support students. So those efforts are continuing in the departments, and through efforts like thinking about when I was a chair, we had a specific aims review, so you can actually get some internal support on your grants before they were submitted externally. So I think that those efforts to connect, to find new opportunities to bring more funding is critical. The other thing is, our MPH you can complete it in 1 year compared to many programs that are 2 years. And for people who are concerned about funding, like this model has been helpful for people where they can come in and sort of expedite their training and then return to work or to other opportunities. And so I think for us, we're going to continue to look at how we're teaching, how people are learning, how are we touching people around the world, and I particularly will continue to connect with potential partners to help think about how we can expand access to our training programs and our fellowships, or through scholarships and fellowships, I should say.
While you're here, I want us to talk a little bit about the future of public health. There are several areas of priority, but what do you really see as the most urgent priority for public health in this next decade?
Yeah, well, when you introduced me as a health equity scholar, so I'm going to look at health equity. Health equity is an important issue, and health equity affects everybody, right? And I remind people about that health equity isn't just for one person. We're talking about increasing and improving opportunities for every single person, regardless of where you were born, where you live, whether your community is rural or urban, all of these things. How do we ensure that everybody can be helpful and can be their best and can thrive, right? So I think that issue is critical for all of us. I think particular topics that I continue to see as priorities are climate change and sort of broader planetary health issues. Certainly chronic disease prevention, obesity, diabetes continues to be challenges for us. Access to healthy food, physical activity, issues related there. Certainly infectious diseases, vaccine access, global health. I think these are all critically important. And I'll also make a nod to AI. And I think just thinking about AI, not just for healthcare and diagnostics, but how do we think about using AI to help us advance the public's health. And so I think these are the areas I'm keeping an eye on and, looking to see how we can continue to lead in these areas.
Yeah. And I think that there are, other challenges that we are currently facing. So in this era of, misinformation, political pressure, funding volatility, and one of the motivations for me to kind of start this podcast was realizing that we have to step up as an institution, or we have to step up as a public health community to really bring information to the public, because post the COVID-19 pandemic, we all saw the level of misinformation that was going on, and it was mainly because people had platforms that they could speak freely, even without evidence. So in your experience, how do you think we can protect the credibility and the impact of our public health institutions?
Yeah, this is such an important issue, right? So I named a bunch of priorities. I think of these as like really cross-cutting issues that affect each of those areas I just named. And so I think what's critically important is for us to ask ourselves, how can we help to win back trust and appreciation for public health? And in order to do that, I think we have to approach how we think about public health, how we talk about public health, how we engage with public health from a place of with deep humility, and thinking about how do we have real dialogue and deep engagement with communities to actually understand and not judge. Because I think oftentimes people are in conversation where they hear something and they just dismiss the person or shut them down. That sort of engagement will not create a dialogue of understanding. So if we seek to be in conversation and seek to listen, right? Listen to understand versus to judge and convince. I think that would help us go a long way. I'm not saying that that's easy. Let me say that. It is a difficult thing to do. And I think that approaching conversations with humility will be really important, because I think it's understanding, why are you getting your information from that source? Or how can we actually help to be, to also acknowledge when we make mistakes, right? I think all of this transparency and honesty and humility is just critical for us as we move forward and help to win back trust and appreciation for public health. And the Bloomberg School, we have a lot of credible sources here of information. So how can we partner with community to better understand and to help people and to understand what people are thinking, right? It's not about sort of, I need to help this person and convince them, but how do we understand why people are thinking the way they're thinking? And I think that will take us a long way.
Awesome. Let's say if you had to, or if you could redesign the public health education from scratch, what one or two things would you change about the way that public health is being taught in our institutions today?
Yeah, I am going to draw on my experiences that I had for many years running a program, the Health Policy Research Scholars, that I ran up until I became dean. And in that program, we really spend a lot of time helping doctoral students who are training to be leaders in health policy think about their values, their strengths, working across disciplines. And I'm not saying that these are things that, we don't teach students, but I think that there's a way to amplify that work, right? So I think about my own doctoral training, I wasn't sort of encouraged to think about, well, what are my values? How do those show up in how I work? What are my strengths? Those are things that I really leaned into once I joined the workforce. But can we start earlier with helping people think about values, because that connects to your job prospects, right? In terms of thinking about how you feel like you can make a difference. Is that position aligned with your values? But certainly, I think the future of public health is really going to rely on ensuring that we are training people who know how to navigate complex systems, know how to be in dialogue and work across sectors, work with new partners who know how to engage. And when I think about education, I think those are just experiences and trainings that people should have from the very beginning through the duration of the program. We as a school have added some new training where people have these opportunities to engage with, career services, for example. We have an employer engagement opportunities throughout your program, and even are offering these services to alum, right? Because we have some alum who've graduated a while ago who didn't really get this type of training, and we're providing opportunities for them to get it now. So I do think a greater emphasis on leadership, on values, on how do we think strategically in complex systems, engagement, and again, more deeply than I would say has been present in many forms of public health. And that engagement part comes down to, for example, how are we sharing power with community? How are we thinking about power? How are we challenging how power is unevenly distributed? I think all of these things are things that students should be learning when they're in school in public health.
Awesome. And as I mentioned earlier, my community is currently a little over 250,000. Most of them graduate students, young professionals, mid-career change makers. What must they understand about what it takes to lead in public health?
Yeah, I'm going to start with where I just finished on that last question, which is humility, embracing humility, listening deeply to community, thinking about how are we showing up, how are we sharing power and resources, critically to be strategic. And being strategic means sometimes we are proactive, and yes, it also means sometimes we actually have to play defense at times. And it means being innovative and creative regarding teaching, education, resources, exploring new partnerships, and certainly being curious. I think curiosity is so important for grad students, young professionals, mid-career change makers, where we can ask questions, challenge the way things are, and have a vision for the world how we know it could be. It's really hard for people to imagine a world that they've never seen. But I encourage people to think about, well, how should the world be? What does it mean to have good health? What should that look like? And have that as your North Star and think about how to get there.
Awesome. So before we go to our closing rapid fire, one question that I get a lot is public health worth it in 2025? As a prospective applicant or as, mid-career professional, does it worth it to come and invest my, say, 1 year, 2 years, or 5 years in public health education?
Yes, resounding yes. Yes. It is worth it in 2025. It was worth it in 2020, in 1916, when we had our first global pandemic, and it'll be worth it 50, 100 years from now, because the need for optimal health has not changed, right? And public health is critical for that. So absolutely, we need you in public health because we continue to need an emphasis and an attention on ensuring that people can be as healthy as possible. Every single person in this world. So yes, we need you. It's worth it. Come join us.
Okay, so as I said, before we close, I'm adding a short new segment called Closing Rapid Fire, where I'll ask you short questions and then you provide honest response. So the first one I have is that, what's a book you gift very often or think every young leader should read?
Yeah, the book of Beautiful Questions by Warren Berger. And it's about the value and the importance of asking questions. And to me, that really speaks to the importance of curiosity for leaders and learning. So there's power in questioning.
Okay. I have to look for it then.
Yeah.
What piece of advice do you give, but sometimes you struggle to follow yourself?
Yeah, this is an easy one. I tell people all the time to embrace restorative rest and the importance of rest. And I don't, as much as I would like to, embrace that, but it's critically important.
Okay. A public health buzzword you love to retire.
Oh my gosh, unprecedented. Even I try to stop myself from saying it now. I'm like, we hear that all the time. I mean, it does people say, oh, what we're facing now is unprecedented. And yeah, I love to retire that word.
Yeah, okay. Your favorite way to unwind after a high stakes day?
Yeah, my cell phone goes on silent in the evening. I'm more of my friend calls me an introvert extrovert, where I need to recharge after a day where I'm on and talking all day, and so my phone goes on silent at 8 p.m. Until 7 a.m. the next day. And unless you're my husband, mother, brother, sister-in-law, best friends, you're not. I don't hear the phone ring. So that is a great way to sort of decompress and unplug.
That's a very effective way to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Setting those boundaries.
Okay. So coffee, tea, or something stronger?
In the morning, coffee, almond milk latte, or just coffee with almond milk.
Okay. Who is someone, past or present, you love to have a one-on-one leadership lunch with?
There are so many people. I love this question, but I want to sit down and chat with Oprah. I want to talk to her too. I want to start with her, and then I'll work my way. Yeah, I have lots of questions for Oprah. I love her commitment to Black girls, her own journey. Love to chat with her.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, hopefully Oprah finds this episode.
Yes, hopefully, and reaches out and calls me. I will happily fly to Chicago and come have lunch.
One thing people would be surprised to learn about you.
I have a black belt in karate, and when I became dean, I did a little video, and I mentioned that in there, and people were very surprised, especially because my weapon was the sai. I don't practice anymore, but my weapon was the sai, which was very cool.
Oh, black belt in karate. Mm-hmm. Do you have any videos or pictures?
If I did, I would not even show you. So no. From my young age, yeah. But there are some photos somewhere. I used to compete in tournaments and won trophies, and yeah. It was,
interesting.
It was from I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 up until my teenage years.
Oh, that's amazing! Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. Well, now people will know who to pick fight with. The one moment in your career you'll never forget.
I successfully defending my dissertation with my parents in the room. It was so meaningful for them, as I'm a first generation college kid and had just achieved that level, and to defend successfully and present. That was the first time they saw me present my work, and to just have them in the back of the room smiling and beaming the whole time. I will never forget that.
Yeah, I can understand. So our final one is fill in the blank. Public health leadership in 2025 requires
perseverance, humility, empathy, and strategy.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate you finding the time and making this work. I know how busy you are and with the important work you're doing. So before you go, perhaps last words to our listeners to those who are watching from across the globe?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you. Thanks for having me today. I really enjoyed our conversation. I would just say to anybody who's listening, I know that this moment feels hard for those of us in public health, and just know how important it is for you to stay in the field. We need you now more than ever. The health problems, the challenges people are facing have not gone away. And I believe that our community is strong, and we will work together to build forward and reimagine how public health should be, so that every single person can thrive and be as healthy as they can.
Awesome. Dean Pollack, thank you so much for your time, and hopefully find time and come to the office. Thank you.
I would love to see you. Come on, and next time you're on campus, come by and visit.